Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ed Berliner. Thanks so much for joining us here on Newsmax and Newsmax.com. Our coverage of the 2016 GOP Nevada Caucus, which will go down in history as possibly one of the most chaotic ever. But let's be honest, it's actually turning out to be rather fun because we're trying to figure out who knows what they're doing and what they're doing in Nevada right now. And everybody is up in arms. We just talked about it. Calm down. Don't worry. All these allegations. We got lots of time. Investigations will come later. Let's welcome back Rick Unger and Michael Patrick Flanagan once again. Gentlemen, we talked a little bit about Ted Cruz a moment ago. Let me go ahead and talk about John Kasich. From Meet the Press and Chuck Todd, the biggest impediment to stopping Trump may be John Kasich. Also on Politico today, the GOP says to John Kasich, get out, saying that you got to get out. Your votes have got to go to Marco Rubio. It's time for you to go. All right, Congressman, I come to you first because let's face it, no politician wants to be told by the people in power that it's time to get out. John Kasich is a guy who believes that once he gets to Ohio, he gets to states there, that he can actually make a difference here. But let's be honest. If he was to go, if Ben Carson was to go, would this, in your opinion, help Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz make up some ground against Donald Trump? Or are we just basically whistling in the wind here on this?
Well, John Kasich is a dear friend of mine, and I served with John, and John's a great guy. John is a terrific governor of Ohio. John's votes don't go anywhere except to Rubio. They are establishment votes. John, there was a poll out today, I think it was, or yesterday, that shows him 5 points behind Trump in Ohio. I don't know that John is going to read the writing on the wall and see the exit sign. John's campaign doesn't cost very much, and he is able to stay a long time on a little money. It's part of his congressional training. He doesn't have a big fat entourage. He's got a nice lean one. And I think John thinks that Marco Rubio still has the capacity to implode, and he'll be the establishment choice. And so I think that's why he's staying, and I think that's why it's there. As quickly, your rationale with Carson, I think, is very good, and that's why I think Trump will eventually reach out to Carson, and they will make nice, and I think Carson will come to endorse Trump, I hope.
Let me ask, when you say that Marco Rubio has the possibility to implode, you're not the first one to say that. How might that happen, in your opinion?
Well, he's young, he's untested. We saw that a small slip, and it really wasn't a big slip, but a small slip in New Hampshire cost him dearly. If he really has a massive slip and fall, he's off the train. And Kasich wants to make sure he's around in case that happens and he can catch. And it's not costing Kasich an arm and a leg to do that. And besides, as I said before, I believe there are two votes at work here. The establishment wing of the vote is only going to be 40% of the Republican vote. There's no way one guy on that side wins the primaries once the other side coalesces. So I don't think that there's any, please, John, get out because we can't win with you in. They can't win with him out either.
Well, but that seems to be what's being said, at least if we're to believe the headline in Politico, basically saying the Republican establishment has a message for John Kasich. Get out. And get out of Marco Rubio's way. Congressman, if you're a politician sitting there and the people in your party tell you to get out, what does that say to you about your party and their loyalty?
Well, the Republicans have a long history of eating their young. They don't take care of their down ballot candidates. And, it sounds like a little sour grapes on my part. That is not the case. And I know I'm going to be unwelcome on Capitol Hill over the next couple of months for saying this, but I will say that we don't take very good care of our farm clubs. And we don't take very care of our guys down ballot. And we really ought to do a better job with that. And for the party holders, the Bushies, the others who run the party in Washington to say Kasich get out does not surprise me.
You are off Reince Priebus's Christmas list, just in case you were wondering. I think that Christmas card is not going to wind up coming to you this year. All right, Rick, let's come to you then from the left side of things here. Because, and I believe it was you who said earlier tonight, what are we worried about second place for? I'm not even sure. It might have been somebody else who said it, but maybe that's true. We're worrying about second place here. Donald Trump doesn't look like he's going anywhere at this point. So isn't this all just moot? And in many ways, isn't this just, it almost seems like a primal scream from the GOP in many ways. Get out, John. We need the votes now. They're basically saying, we're beat. We're done. Donald Trump got us. We got nowhere to go.
The reality is that the RNC is so off kilter at this point. They've been thrown for such a loop. They've lost such control of this race that, I don't think they can make a good decision about anything to say. I have to say, I have no horse in this race, being that I'm a Democrat. But I think the congressman's analysis was really, really very good. I think he nailed it. I think what's interesting for his candidate, for Dr. Carson, I think it's in his best interest, if he wants to be vice president, to get out of this race pretty soon, so he doesn't start to look like a guy who's just hanging on for no good reason. We won't forget him when it comes time for a vice president to be picked. So I think that's in his best interest. There is no reason whatsoever for John Kasich to go away. Look, I'm a Democrat, but I come from Ohio, and I follow Governor Kasich, and you know what? As a Democrat, I'm going to tell you, he's done a pretty darn good job as governor of that state. The fact that he's only 5 points behind Donald Trump, I think that says a lot. I think you cannot rule him out as a possible winner in that state. You also cannot rule him out as a possible winner in Michigan. Who knows what happens after that? He has every reason, and the congressman, he put it beautifully. John Kasich travels light. He doesn't have these expenses. He's a clever guy. He has every reason to stay in this race. He's not going to listen to that advice. He will be here for a while when some of the others may not be.
I got it, but Rick, how does he punch through? That still, to me, always comes down as the big question. No. Just it doesn't win, I guess, but get his message heard. Because let's be very frank, in the debates as well, his message gets lost. Sure, he gets a couple of liners here and there, but nobody really pays much attention. He gets a little note here and there.
I don't agree.
Well, wait a minute.
I don't agree.
You may not agree with it, but let's be honest, he doesn't seem to get the kind of media coverage that a Trump gets. How do you push through that and get your message out there?
That was true until New Hampshire. I don't think it's true now, and I'll give you the best proof I have. You know, people come on our radio show. They know Michael Steele, Rick Unger. They come on. Candidates come on. We haven't been able to get John Kasich's campaign to even answer an email. They are showing up everywhere I turn on the television set. They're showing up on the radio shows that they want. They are getting it out now, and I think if he can do well in Ohio, not a second place, because he's the governor, he's the favorite son. A second place doesn't do him much good. If the congressman's right and Donald Trump does win in Ohio, that is the end of John Kasich. If he pulls off a win, you can expect to hear him getting even more media. I think he's much more of a factor than people are willing to give him credit for.
All right, couple minutes we got left here in this segment. Let me break it down to what we're going to hear in the next 12, 24 hours from Nevada. Congressman, to you first. Everybody says Donald Trump will win. It's a given at this point. How big a win does he get, percentage-wise, that really drills it home, that puts Rubio and Cruz down? Are we talking 15 points, 20 points? What are we talking here as far as a win?
Well, I don't know what he's going to do, and I don't know what the irregularities are going to show forth, and obviously Rubio is setting the stage for disputing it. But I think that Trump has largely underperformed the polls thus far, and I see no reason that Nevada would be any different. If he wins by 10 or 15, that'll be plenty. His polls had him up by more than that. And that'll be enough, and that's a good, steady pace. If he can stay that way next week at Super Tuesday, he's fine, and he's there. I don't see any real loss for him if he wins by something less than that. A win is a win.
All right. To you, Rick, same thing.
I agree. Yeah, I do. I think that Nevada is particularly insignificant for Donald Trump unless he were to lose, because he's expected to win. Yeah. There's just two primaries you've got to watch that are coming up soon. Watch what he does in Texas. Watch what he does in Florida. If he wins those two states, there's no more case for Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio.
The way you are looking at it right now, I got 30 seconds left. First to you, Rick. Super Tuesday, week from today. Everybody's been talking about that. Do you expect a Trump sweep Super Tuesday?
I think he's going to do exceedingly well. I don't think he's going to have enough delegates to put it away, but I think it's going to be enough delegates that the writing is going to clearly be on the wall.
All right. To you, Congressman?
I think Trump will do very well. And interestingly, if I can tag on to Rick's point earlier about Kasich, we've seen mostly the primaries that we've seen so far have been in red states or reddish states. You're going to see a whole bunch of Republican primaries in blue states. Kasich will do very, very well, and Trump will do well in the East, and those will have some very interesting results, and that might be where Rubio slides.
Look, it's getting to the point where, as I've always said, this is a competition. I want to see this come right down to the wire. Oh, and by the way, there were two other candidates we haven't spoken about. That's right. Let me see. Sanders, Clinton. Oh, yeah, I think we have to get a word in or two about that, because Mr. Unger has a few questions to answer there as well. Rick Unger, Congressman Flanagan, hang tight. We're going to come right back to you. This is our continuing coverage of the 2016 Nevada Caucus.